Well, I don't know what would happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. And I don't mind. Like anybody, I'd like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So tonight I'm happy. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. Good evening.
Good evening.
Those prophetic words were uttered by Dr. King on April 4th, 1968. Approximately 24 hours later, he was the victim of an assassin's bullet. We gather here today to honor Dr. King, to give reverence to him and the many ancestors who have given so much for our progress. We gather here to rededicate ourselves to the fight for freedom and justice. My name is Forrest Jackson. On behalf of President George Weathersby, President of Alpha Sigma Lambda Chapter Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, I welcome you.
Allow me to begin by thanking the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity and the Martin Luther King Center for thinking enough of me and allowing me to share with you this evening. I am John Carter. Most people know me as Coach Carter. So oftentimes I think about what Dr. King would say if he were alive today to our young people and to our families here in the South Dallas area, as he spoke so eloquently about his dream. So if you would allow me to just share with you in my own way, in my own words, what I believe Dr. King would say to the young people and to the families here in South Dallas. So I say to you today, my brothers and my sisters, that though we must face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, you can still have a dream. Have a dream that's deeply rooted in the American dream. Have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. For we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Have a dream that one day the sons of fathers from the red bricks of Highland Park will be able to sit down with the sons of fathers from the red bricks of Rochester Park. Have a dream today. Have a dream in this place that we call Dallas Public Schools, that little black boys and little black girls will be able to hold hands with little white boys and little white girls as sisters and as brothers. Study together, play together, live and learn together. Yes, have a dream today. Have a dream that one day your children will live in a society where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but instead by the content of their character. Have a dream from a store in South Dallas with Big Daddy's name on it, to a business downtown with your name on it. You can have that dream today. Have a dream of courtrooms that will be filled with justice instead of jailhouses filled with just us. And when you allow yourself to dream, then we can stand and sing with new meaning. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicings rise high as the listening sky. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. So I say to you this evening, let freedom ring. Let freedom ring from every street in sunny South Dallas. Let freedom ring. Let freedom ring from your first year of junior high all the way to your senior year at Madison High. Let freedom ring. Let freedom ring from your restricted place internal courts all the way to your reserved place on the Supreme Court. Yes, let freedom ring. But not only that, you let freedom ring from every dingy, dark door of the dope house all the way to the pearly white doors of the White House. And when you allow your freedom to ring, I mean, when you truly, truly allow freedom to ring, we'll speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews, Gentiles, Protestants, and Catholics, will be able to stand and sing in the words of that old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we're free. We're free at last. If King were alive today, I think those would be the words that he would say to the young people and to the families here in South Dallas. God bless you this evening.
Good evening. Bear with me. Discouraged, and why should the shadows come? And why should my heart feel lonely and long for my heavenly home? When Jesus is my portion, a constant friend is He. His eyes on all the sparrows, and I know He watches me. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. For His eyes are on the sparrow, and I know He watches me.
How's everyone doing today? Let me try again. How's everyone doing today? Good. Glad to be here. A wonderful time of celebration of the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I want to thank Brother Forrest Jackson, as well as all of those who are in participation, leading this wonderful effort today and this community center. And we just thank God for what He is doing and has done. And we want to celebrate and commemorate the life, the legacy of one who has trailblazed for so many of us, pretty much all of us, so we can be where we are in this particular time. My assignment today, as I was given, was to highlight in about 10 minutes what Dr. King did in about 30 in a message he did in 1954. We know his I Have a Dream speech. We know that one. We know several other speeches, even the one that he did just on April the 3rd of 1968. One that is not as familiar to many people is one he did in 1954, right before Rosa Parks, right before all of those others took place. And that was the message he did in Detroit. The message he did in Detroit was a sermon he preached in a place where his father had preached many times. And the title of that message on that day is our title of our message, and we'll reframe that. He entitled that message, Rediscovering Moral Values. He talked about in 1954 that they needed to rediscover moral values. I want to put a tag on it today and I want to do a rediscovering moral values in 2019. As we talk about that today, Dr. King gave this wonderful message. And as he gave this message, we got to understand he entitled it Rediscovering Moral Values. I began to look up the title, should I say the definition of the word rediscover. The word rediscover simply means that we're discovering something that is forgotten or ignored or simply lost. But then I looked at the word rediscover, and I know the root word of that word rediscover is discover. And I looked at the word in discover, and that means to find something in the course of a search. And what I recognize is by looking at the things that he talked about that we needed to rediscover, which was moral values, but also making sure we understood who God is and begin to live out the legacy behind who God created us to be. I recognize that looking at our society in 2019, King was speaking to a society in 1954 that mirrors much of what we look like in 2019. But my concern is it looks worse in 2019 in many ways than it did in 1954. So if I was to reframe and rephrase my title, I would say Discovering Moral Values in 2019. And if we're talking about discovering moral values, that was a story that's written in the Bible. Jesus began to talk about three parables, but they meant the same thing. One of those parables was a woman who had a lost coin. And she had a lost coin, and she began to light a lamp in the house, and she began to sweep through the entire house looking for that lost coin, because that lost coin was of significant value. But the coin itself didn't know its value. It was the woman who knew the value of that coin. And as we talk about this today, we have to understand some things in our society as we walk through and understand and unpack what Dr. King was discussing on that particular day. As he talked about rediscovering moral values, we got to understand that values simply are some of the things that we call love, values of kindness, values of justice, values of equality, values of respect. And we have to understand that we get our values because we recognize what our value is. If we don't understand our value, then it's going to dictate how we live out the values in life, because we may live out the wrong types of values if we don't really know our value as a people. And what Dr. King talked about in his specific message on that particular day, he was talking about in order to go forward, we must sometimes go back. Because sometimes we're trying to press forward, not understanding where we've come from. And I believe that's why the Bible starts with a book called Genesis and it ends with Revelation. Because if you don't know where you come from, you're going to end up with the wrong revelation. And we want to make sure we have the right kind of revelation. And if we go forward, we must first go back. And then just like this woman in that story, as a community, as a society, we must sweep the house and find coins who understand. And we talk about coins, we're talking about people. Everybody say people. We're talking about people who understand their value. But if we're going to rediscover, then here's the thing. Our problem today is it seems that some of us cannot rediscover what we didn't discover in the first place. In other words, today we have to spend more time instilling values and instilling morals, because when we have a president in the White House who has no morals and no values, it's hard to rediscover what it seems like he never found in the first place. Am I talking to somebody today? And as we talk about that, I want to talk about three things today that encourages us as a community and a society to make sure that we rediscover moral values. And the first thing is we got to light the lamp. Somebody say light the lamp. We have to light the lamp for this society. That means light the torch, because the first thing this woman did when she was looking for that coin, that thing of value, is she needed to make sure that she was able to see. And when we recognize the word light simply means honesty. It means truth. That somebody has to tell the truth about the goodness in our communities. Somebody has to tell the truth about the good going on in the hood. Somebody has to tell the truth about our young people are not all killing themselves and stabbing themselves and wearing their pants to their butt. That somebody got to tell the truth. We have some great coins in our community. But at the same time, somebody got to tell the truth that there are some people in place who are causing systems to oppress those same people. That there are some disparate communities that are around us that don't have the abilities as other people have. Somebody say, tell the truth. That means we got to have somebody who's not trying to take the money that the community is supposed to be getting to enhance the community, But we got to have some people who are using that money for I wish I had somebody here today. Somebody say light the lamp. And that's what she had to do. This woman had to light the lamp. That's what we have to do, light the lamp. And when we light the lamp and tell the truth on, let me tell you something. Whenever you turn the light on and you in the hood or you in the house sometimes and you haven't kept the house clean, y'all know just what happens, what turns on, all the roaches come out. And I'm trying to help somebody understand that when you turn the light on and you start telling the truth about our communities and the people that we are elected to lead our communities, that they many times are roaches who are snatching the crumbs that we need in the first place. But somebody got to turn on the light. Somebody say turn the light on. But when you turn that light on like this lady, you got to sweep through the community. Somebody say sweep the house. You got to sweep the house and go to the corners and crevices in the corners of our hoods and find people and in our societies and find people and let them know that they can be better than what they've been told. They can do better than what society says they can be. And when you end up sweeping through the house looking for those corners, you're going to have to turn over some stuff. And sometimes it gets messy when you turn over some stuff. Sometimes just because people have your color don't mean they're by your side. You got to turn over some stuff. Sometimes your loyalty got to be to the truth and not for liars who just trying to get in position. Somebody say turn the light on. Somebody say sweep the house. Because when you turn the light on and you sweep the house, just because we have black people in position don't mean they're going to stand for black people in certain conditions. And they got to recognize when we turn the light on and sweep through the house that we will recognize that a black woman's face is more important than a back of a truck window. That we will not end up victimizing victims because we recognize that our souls are more important than the things that take place in this community. Somebody say sweep through the house. But then the last thing is, after we tell the truth, we sweep through the house, we set the situation up. Then what she did is she ended up finding wonderful people. She told what was going on. She shared what was going on. She did those things. And then she called all of her friends in her community, and they rejoiced when they found that coin. And I'm trying to tell you, that's how communities come together, because when something happens good to somebody, then we ought to be able to celebrate. The reason Nipsey Hussle got killed because he was doing good and somebody was a hater. And whenever you recognize when we have the crab mentality, we'll never be able to get better, and you don't want to come back to where you came from. But I wish that we had some community to say, I'm not going to hate on you, I'm going to celebrate with you, because we all get free when we lift each other up and we're able to do some things. Somebody shout, rediscover our moral values. And when people respect, as Dr. King says, listen, if you don't recognize who our Lord is, you don't recognize who our God is, the supreme ruler, we'll follow his motto, we'll follow his legacy, because he was recognizing he's not just a genie in a bottle, he's a God that leads the universe. And when we learn to follow in the footsteps of Jesus, one who was about healing and not hurting, lifting and not tearing down, unity and not division, focus more on doing good rather than looking good. We got to recognize he was focused more on not focused on getting the latest car, but making sure he got close to the nearest rugged cross. Because sacrifice is how we go forward. And all I'm saying today is we have to remember the legacy of where we came from. And we have to teach where we came from so we can move forward with justice. And remember, the day we celebrate the death of a soldier for God and a soldier for this community, but it was also an awakening to let us know that sometimes we gotta suffer, but we still gonna get to the promised land. Thank you, and God bless you.
Good evening. I don't know about you, but I know he did just give us a charge. And that charge is for us all to stand up and do the right thing and make this community a much better community. So on behalf of the City of Dallas Martin Luther King Community Center, the staff, and my advisory board, we say thank you, Reverend King, for the great message you just gave us, and we all should do our part. At this time, I would like for all of my advisory board members to come up to the podium. And before they speak, I want you all to put your hands together and do a round of applause for my staff and volunteers, because they did a great job putting this event together. So I want the community to know that we do have an advisory board that's working on your behalf, and each of these advisory board members are appointed by your council people. So at this time,
I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my love.